Welcome to Peak, Train Like a Girl, a podcast by girls in sport, for girls and coaches in sport. We're here to amplify your voice. We think it deserves to be heard. At Peak, we're a safe place for girls to hang out, learn, grow, and build community. We empower girls in sport and coaches with knowledge, resources, and support we think is necessary in today's athletic environments to thrive. Join us for bold conversations and experiences of girls in sport. Our discussions will make you laugh, cheer, cry, get frustrated, and hopefully rethink the future of girls in sport for generations to come. So whether you're walking, commuting, cleaning your bedroom, or maybe even packing up to head off to college, take us with you. Follow us. It helps more than you can imagine. And make sure you are sharing with a female athlete or coach you love. Carson, welcome to the pod. I'm so glad to have you on with me today.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, fill me in. Where are you?
I am back in Cincinnati, officially moved. So not just visiting.
Wow. Tell us more. What's going to be going on there? Are you just kind of hanging out, working remotely? I know that, but just a new place or something different, or did something take you there?
I have 6 baby nieces and a 7th nephew on the way. So mostly them. Doing
Nice.
some work with athletes here, getting to be where I grew up. I'm really excited about that, but I'm still going to be around in Illinois. I'm actually going next week to speak at Wildwood Running. So I'm not going to be away always.
Nice. Well, I will see you at Wildwood in Naperville. Super exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually going to even have them on the podcast in a few weeks, which I'm super excited about. The 2 founders of Wildwood we're going to have on the podcast. I'm sure they're going to have a ton of great information.
Yeah, that's amazing. I can't wait to listen.
Yeah, and make sure you dress cool because it's like high 90s and super humid here. So be prepared.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel like I have everywhere I've been the last week. I was in Michigan, I was in Indiana, I was here. It's hot everywhere. It's just brutal.
It's super hot everywhere. Well, do you mind if we go ahead and give a introduction to our next guest and get her warmed up?
Please.
Awesome. So we're super excited to have Sunny Weber on the podcast with us today. I've actually had the privilege of following her journey the past several years and watching her race at both the state and state cross country meets and the state track meet. She's a delight to watch when she's performing because you can tell that she gives her all and she's like 100% present. I don't know if anyone has ever said that to her before, but her energy is palpable when you watch her race. And the other thing that I've noticed about her is she is very generous to the other athletes she is competing with. She's always willing to congratulate and celebrate, and you can just see the joy kind of written all over her face. So, Sunny, thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Are you ready to get warmed up with us?
Yeah, I'm super ready.
Awesome. All right. Birkenstocks with or without socks?
Definitely with socks.
Yeah, that seems to be the trend, right?
Yeah.
Legally Blonde series. Are you in or are you out?
I've never watched one.
Okay, good. I love it. But I can't tell. Did you ever see the movie?
No, I haven't.
Okay, good. No, I want you. That's awesome. All right, track workout or long run?
I would say I love long runs. I love when my sister bikes with me. Definitely makes it a lot more enjoyable.
Oh, that's super fun. You're going to have to fill us in a little more on that. So when you go for a long run, she hops along, is on her bike?
Yeah, it's super fun. We're able to talk the whole time, which makes it go by so much faster.
Yeah, and when you're in Sandwich, Illinois, correct?
Yeah.
So is it a lot of like open trails or is it mostly like roads, like more country roads, or is it busier roads? What are long runs like for you out there?
Yeah, it's definitely like mostly roads, but we try to go on trails as much as we can. So we usually have to drive like 20 minutes, 30 minutes away, but it isn't that bad. It's worth it.
Absolutely. It's nice to kind of have a little change of pace too, right? A change of scenery.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Perfect. Vanilla or chocolate?
I would say vanilla.
All right, because it kind of goes with everything.
Yeah, I love putting like toppings on my ice cream.
I like that. Lipstick or lip balm?
I would say lip balm.
Yeah, that's kind of the go-to. Do you have a special one that you use?
Not really. I don't really use it that much. I always forget about it, but I love mascara.
Oh, do you run with mascara on?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, is it use a waterproof one? Fill us in. What brand do you use?
I use, let me think. It's Lash Paradise. It doesn't really smudge that much, so it's really good. I would recommend it a lot.
There you go. So wait, what's it called again? I'm going to write it down.
Sky High.
All right. The brand to go to, Sky High. Sunny Weber told you right here. All right, Sunny, thanks for getting warmed up with us. Fill us in. Tell us your story of being a girl in sport.
Yeah, I would say I first started running in 5th grade, and at first I really didn't want to do it. I begged my mom to quit, but she always wanted me to compete in a sport. So we made a deal. I would get through the season, see how I felt about it, but over the course of the season, I fell in love with it. I think it was leading up to the state meet. If I did well, like going into sectionals, I heard that like for state, we're going to be able to stay in a hotel. So I thought that was really fun. So I tried my hardest at the meet leading up to sectionals. I was able to get into the top 7 for my team. And ever since then, I realized that I was capable, and it wasn't just such a chore anymore to run, and it was definitely meant something more to me after that. So after competing in the state meet, I just fell in love with it. So my 6th grade year, I trained my best. I tried the best I could and really gave it my all. So I think just ever since then, I've loved the sport.
I love that. So you ran through middle school and in high school, and you run both cross country and track, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does a typical training week look like for you? How much training is involved? Has that changed as you've gotten older? I'm assuming it looks really different as a high schooler, compared to a 5th grader. So tell us about a training week and how it's evolved over time.
Yeah, so my freshman year of high school, we had a different coach than we do now. So he was all about pretty low mileage, saving our legs for college. So with that, I still succeeded with the training, and so he was my coach for my first year of high school, and then my cross country season, and then leading into my sophomore year of track season, we got our new coach, and he was definitely um he wanted to see how good I could get, so he upped my mileage. So that season it wasn't the best personally, because I think I was just had to get adjusted to his training, higher mileage, new workouts and stuff like that. So I definitely still tried my best though, but it wasn't exactly the results I wanted to see. But after that, my cross country season, I think his training finally clicked for me, and um, during the cross country season, I was able to get the goals. He knew I didn't believe him when he said that I could run specific times, but he always believed in me, and I was able to get the goals, achieve the goals I wanted to, and I was able to win my first cross country state title with him.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. I was at that meet. So what do you think it feels like when you're in a training block that has actually felt really good, where you think that the training and where you're at has synced? Specifically, running a super fast race in September isn't that helpful, right? Especially when you're
Yeah.
competing at the state meet. So how do you know when you're in sync or things that are working? I like that you paused and reset, hey, I had to get used to somebody else's training block. Every single coach that I talked to on the podcast, we all say the same thing. There's a million ways to train a distance runner. You just have to buy into one way. And it may take you some time to adapt, but eventually if you're following a program and shutting out the rest of the noise, the training will work. So talk to us about a training block that felt super good to you when you knew things were clicking.
Yeah, I think definitely just like taking recovery, like once you start not feeling like heavy every day, or I feel like what really helps is when you just take recovery seriously and you're able to like recover quick and be ready for your next run. I feel like once you're able to do that and not like feel terrible every day in a sense, or heavy every day, I think that's when you know that it's working. Once you see those workouts translate into races and start seeing the results that you hope for, it definitely becomes what else am I capable of?
Yeah. And so you talked about recovery, but what does recovery actually look like? Is it something you prioritize, or is it still something you're learning to respect?
Yeah, I definitely try my best to prioritize like recovery, like fueling right after runs and making sure I'm doing like all the right like mobility, stretching, and like strength training. I think that's definitely helped me a lot, and I wish I knew that sooner. When I first started running like earlier in my like high school career.
Yeah, that's something we take very seriously. So I am, exercise science is my background in nutrition science, and I'm a certified personal trainer. So when I first came into our program, that's what I was there to do. I was there to help with the yoga programming, but then also for the strength programming, and then to bring in a lot of the components of fueling. So I'd love to spend a little time here. Like the miles are one thing, and pretty much even if you're talking to a high performing high school athlete, everyone's running about the same number of miles and about the same workouts. But the levers that do start to look different are things like the strength training and the mobility and the conversations around fueling, both for workouts and to recover from workouts. And then obviously the conversations around sleep. So what are some of those conversations that have been going on with your team and your coach as you started to navigate and prioritize those?
Yeah, he definitely made it like a big emphasis of like of like eating right, making sure you're getting enough like protein and carbohydrates, and really just getting the energy you need from that, as well as getting enough sleep, because it is like really important in your recovery process, especially with dealing with like stress as well. So I think him making that clear to us, and me and the other girls like taking it seriously, definitely really helped with our training and whatnot and everything else, and like life in general too.
Yeah. How does sleep work into the equation? Do you make sure you're getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep, or does sleep just kind of happen, or is it something you prioritize in your schedule first? How does that work?
Yeah, I think I can prioritize it a little bit better. It's kind of been like off this summer, but I usually try my best to get between like 8 to 9 hours of sleep, and just try to go to sleep at a reasonable or like early hour, and wake up at a time like where I can beat the heat. But sometimes it's a little hard like balancing with work and stuff, because I have to go to work pretty early in the morning. So making sure that, so now I'm just really trying to go to sleep as early as I can to get ready for the next day ahead.
Yeah. So you're working because we will get into this conversation for sure. You're heading off to college next year. So you're working this summer. So you're not training with your team. So most of your training is on your own. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. What does that look like? Is it super hard? And you're right. I mean, we're in the Midwest. It is really steamy here. So we think that adaptation to the heat is super important. Kids need to adapt to the heat because they're going to be running in heat through October if you're living in the Midwest. But running in those early hours definitely make a difference, especially when you're putting on longer summer miles. Tell me how you're fitting all of that in, and what does it feel like to be training on your own after working with a team all these years?
Yeah. It's definitely hard to train alone, just in the sense that you don't really have anyone to like push you and stuff like that. But I think I'm definitely like pretty used to it because a lot of my training like during my high school career was kind of by myself. So I'm definitely used to that aspect, and I think it makes me like crave and like be really excited for Duke and to be able to train with just such an amazing team. And I think it's definitely nice that I have to go to work in the morning, that I can like run as early as possible, and sometimes it's a little cooler out, which is really nice.
Absolutely. What about strength training? How are you getting that in during the summer hours? Do you have access to a gym? Are you doing stuff at home? What does that look like?
Yeah, luckily I have a YMCA in town that I love. I always go to. I love the people there. So yeah, so I do my main run in the morning, and then I go to work, and then after work I do my double run or go cross training on the arc trainer, and then I do strength or mobility afterwards, depending on what I have for that day.
And is your coach at Duke, did they send you a summer training plan to follow?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
different is it from what you were doing with your high school last summer?
I would say it's pretty similar. I'm on my second week of training right now, but I think the mileage is pretty similar, and it's kind of nice because it's a lot like low impact. It's a lot more cross training, which is nice. So I think that's definitely like helping my legs and making me feel a little bit more fresh day to day. But it's definitely a lot lighter right now. So I'm super excited to like start doing a little bit like harder workouts and seeing like what else is to come.
Yeah. Carson, before I kind of keep moving on, what do you want to add in here? Questions you have about some of the things we've already talked about?
Yeah, I am just jotting down so much of what you're saying, Sunny. I think this is so fascinating. You've got such great insight. I want to go back to something you said about in high school when you got a new coach, and you were kind of adjusting to the training. So I come from the mental side. I'm a mental performance coach. And so when you were talking about that and kind of this idea of trusting, a new coach and admitting that, you maybe didn't see where they thought you could be, but you're going to go with it and you're going to, give it a shot, yet not having those results right away. How were you able to deal with that disappointment in like the tangible results and the outcomes, and not let that interfere with like your process and your trust in the overall process of like your entire career versus the one season? Like, how did you mentally overcome that?
Yeah. So my coach's whole thing was about like trust the process. That was his motto, and he even made us like keychains and stuff that said it, and he made us put it on our backpacks. But I think just really try not to get like too caught up in like physical results like times for races, and just really knowing that like this is going to benefit me long term, even though I didn't really like recognize it in the moment, and not really try not to like let the stress of like having a new coach, not knowing how like his training plan is adjusting to me, not knowing if this is going to make me like the best athlete I can. So I think just truly like trusting in him and his word of what he says that he knows I'm capable of. So, and it's definitely really hard to not see the results you want and to be able to and stressing over that. But I think like once you just have patience and take the time you need, it definitely is worth it long term.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that. And let's stick with this for just a little bit. So trusting the process, and I talked about this with the coach from Barrington the other day. She was on the podcast, and that's something, we're all saying to our athletes, trust the process. And I think really what we're saying to our athletes is shut out the rest of the noise.
Yeah.
So I think one thing that's super hard is there's so much, we are in information overload between, Mile Split and Strava, which I think is like social media for running nerds, to be honest with you. How do you shut out the noise to be able to trust the process? How do you stop paying attention to what other influencers or other coaches or other athletes are doing or saying enough to have stayed with this long enough to see the success?
Yeah, I think comparison is definitely like a big thing, and like most athletes like always struggle with it. I know I struggled with it a lot, but just knowing like what personally like works for me and like seeing the results that I know I'm capable of, and not really like what everyone has things that like work for them differently, whether it's like training or sleep, fueling. So just making sure you're doing what just works for you and you know what's best for you.
So what were the comparison, and I think the saying goes, comparison is the thief of joy, but what were
Yeah.
some of the things you specifically did to stop the comparison game?
Yeah, I think just like really get into the mindset of like what works for you may not work for them, or what works for them may not work for you, and not trying to um judge myself like whether I have to take like if I'm feeling like pain or like tightness, not trying to I try to go on like Strava or uh less just to not like um not judge myself, but I guess like compare myself to other athletes and thinking that I'm behind or anything, but just knowing that this is like a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I think you're right. Carson, what are some tips that you have for athletes that are listening to help that comparison game get a little more quiet?
Yeah, this is such a tough piece of it, because I think part of why you've been so successful, Sunny, is because you have that competitive mentality, right? Which is like, I want to win. I want to do the best that I can do. And so with that comes, a piece of the comparison and, what we refer to as like this ego orientation, right? Where I want to see the success. I want to be able to measure my success in these certain ways. And like, I always tell my athletes, we're not trying to get rid of that. That's what makes you hungry for more, right? But the problem is kind of what you were saying, Anne Marie, where you find it everywhere, like on social media and, being talked about at the meets and all this stuff. So it becomes more of an imbalance of we don't have enough of the internal incentives of like feeling fulfilled and feeling happy and feeling like kind of what you said, Sunny, like this isn't a chore, you need to have the balance of this is making me feel fulfilled because I'm growing and I'm getting better personally. And then in tandem with like, I also am seeing physical achievements and I am winning, or I am committing to a great school. Right. And so like, I think trying to acknowledge maybe some of those sources of comparison, or the things that make us don't feel super great, in terms of our internal dialogue and how we're processing the sport. Like, are we having fun? Are we feeling fulfilled because of our work ethic and our progress that we've made, and not only feeling fulfilled by a certain PR or, a medal or a place, those sorts of things. Right. And so I think just kind of knowing that it's inevitable to compare, and that's part of the game. We want to, you have to qualify for these big meets that you've done, and like you have to run those certain times to go to the level that you're going. So that's great, but we have to find the balance. And so how do I, make sure that it's not feeling like a chore? I'm not dreading practice. I'm not talking down on myself, and just kind of trying to create more and more balance.
Yeah, I agree. Let's switch gears here a little bit. Sunny, I'm super curious because you've talked about fueling quite a bit. Talk to us about your thoughts around fueling for both training and racing, and has your understanding of fueling for performance and fueling for recovery changed over your high school career?
Yeah, I think it's definitely like changed. I try to make it like a priority now where it wasn't really like in the past. So I think just knowing what works right for your body, make sure you're like fueling enough to meet like the energy like demands of whatever the activity you did that day is definitely so important. And when you don't like fuel correctly, it's so hard like in practice or whatnot. So like when you fuel correctly, you're just giving yourself such a like service, and like really benefiting yourself and putting yourself um, like really
Yeah,
like,
like putting yourself first. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Has there ever been a point where you felt your energy or appetite fell out of sync with your training load?
Yeah, I think that definitely like happens because sometimes you just like don't really have like an appetite. Like sometimes after long runs,
It's
like
hard, right? Yeah.
yeah, after long runs, I really don't feel like eating. Like everything kind of sounds gross, but I think just really like just really prioritizing it and just like eating if you don't feel hungry or like still like eating when you don't really feel like it. It's definitely really important and will help you long term.
Yeah. People don't talk about that a lot, Sonny. We have a lot of people, and, I'm not telling you or our audience anything they haven't heard. Eating disorders and disordered eating tend to be high around female runners for a bunch of different reasons. I think this is one of the reasons we don't talk enough about, but the activity level, particularly running like on a 90-degree day like today, it actually does suppress your appetite. You're just not physically hungry when you get back. So what are some things that you kind of go to that are easy for you to consume and they feel good and they feel nourishing? What are some of your go-to meals or snacks?
Yeah, I love smoothies. I think the brand is like K or like
Okay.
K protein, but I love those types of smoothies. Like I just put them in the blender with milk and ice, just really easy. And yeah, so that's my main thing. And just, I love, eating like fruit snacks or like gummy bears like before a run. So I think that definitely like helps like your like energy and like sugar intake, just giving
Absolutely.
you that like extra energy you need. So
Yeah.
I just try to like find like easy like foods that are like easy to digest and that will help me like most after my runs.
Yeah, I agree and I think that's why a lot of people go to the smoothies is that they're super easy and sometimes drinking something is, easier than trying to chew some food down. I've actually heard a lot of professional runners, even talk about that. Like it's sometimes easier to get liquids down than it is to actually think about digesting a food. And when you think about it, a smoothie is actually broken down. So it's actually easier to digest.
Yeah.
And a fruit gummy, like you're talking about, again, it's a simple sugar. So it's super easy to break down and digest. And so that's something that we talk to our caretakers a lot about is we don't want to be giving a positive or a negative charge to any food. All food is good food, and all food has a purpose. And so some of those things that are super easy to break down and super easy to digest are super helpful for runners. So I'm so glad you talked about that because we don't really talk about that appetite suppression piece. I think people think you're out there and you're running all these miles and you're automatically going to be like super hungry. And that's just actually not the case with not every athlete, but a lot of athletes, their appetites are actually suppressed. So thanks for filling us in there. Do you have a couple of go-to breakfasts or dinners that you really like or convenient lunches?
Yeah, I know it's big. I love chicken, rice, and like vegetables. I always like try to meal prep that. It's just like really easy to eat. It's like you can eat it for lunch or dinner. Sometimes like I have it for breakfast too. So
Yeah, the savory for breakfast. I do that sometimes too.
yeah,
Yeah, I had leftover steak from last night, and when I got home from practice this morning, I made steak roll-ups and romaine lettuce with some other things in it. I didn't need something sweet, but I needed something obviously that had the protein. I had a little more time, so I could, wasn't as easy to digest as a shake, but I had a little more time to do that. Carson, what are your thoughts on fueling for performance?
Yeah, something I love about this podcast is that we're not afraid to get real and to get deep. And so I would love to ask you, Sunny, like kind of, piggybacking off of Anne Marie's commentary with obviously seeing a lot of girls struggling with food and body image and the whole nine, right? Like that's obviously something that's within this field and this sport. the heat and the actual physical work certainly makes the food not sound good afterwards, right? Like that's totally common. But another big piece of it is like, we're taught that runners look a certain way. And so there's young girls that are having a hard time with what they're eating, or, making themselves eat food because of the image side of things. So I guess, Sunny, just for our younger listeners, or maybe some of our female runners that are struggling in that way, like maybe one piece of advice that you would give to someone that's dealing with that inner dialogue of like, I'm supposed to look a certain way, or I maybe don't look how a runner's supposed to look right now. And so then they're kind of falling into some of those bad habits with food. Like, what would you maybe tell them?
Yeah, I think like under feeling like it might have like short-term results, but definitely long-term, it's just gonna hurt you like exponentially over time. So it's really hard like not to compare yourself to girls that like look like they're doing their best, like hitting all these fast times, and they are like under fueling or are like so skinny and whatnot. But just knowing that those results like most likely aren't going to be permanent, and it's way more healthy and better for like long-term success is like fueling yourself right and knowing what works for your body, not trying to achieve someone's body that is most likely like you can't copy someone else's body. So just yeah.
I like what you
Yeah.
said about, I think you kind of made a comment during the conversation about sleep as well. Just that like the things that you're doing right now for yourself as a runner are also things that are going to help you in life. And so, from what you said, like I'm kind of taking away, okay, I need to worry about myself as a whole person and what's going to be healthy for me well beyond my running. And that's what's going to best suit me in life, and then also in this phase where I am an athlete and I am doing the running. So I think that's such a good piece of advice and really important for our listeners to hear.
Absolutely. So speaking of long-term success, you do have the privilege and the opportunity to perform at the next level over the next 4 years. Talk to us a little bit about what the recruiting process looked like. And actually, let's start there. Talk to us about what the recruiting process looked like.
Yeah, so it was definitely really overwhelming, like going into my junior year. So I think I was definitely really overwhelmed by like all these colleges messaging me, but I was also so grateful. It was so nice to like speak to other coaches and see what like their program's gonna be like and what like really running will be like in college. So I definitely had like any options like open for me. I wasn't like too strict of like or I really didn't know like really what I wanted in college. So I think just like taking all the visits and like taking into account the coaches and the team, I think that was a big thing. It helped me like narrow down my choices.
So you obviously have to be a very good student also, because you wouldn't have gotten into Duke if you weren't. So tell me what you're going to do besides running. What are you going to be studying when you're at Duke?
Yeah, I'm going to be studying biology, and I'm going to hope to get a career related to like medical imaging or just healthcare in general.
I love that. And why Duke? What made Duke stand out?
Yeah, I think first of all, I just like love the campus. It's so pretty, but most of all, I just really like loved the team and the coaches. It was just such a positive environment from like the moment I was there. It like felt like I truly belonged there, and I was just like one of them. And I think like my coaches, they see me more of like they see me as a student as well as like they see me as a student athlete and most importantly a person as well compared to other schools which only like view you as a athlete or a number or a time.
I love that. So that's actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you. So outside of running, what does give you your sense of identity?
Yeah, I think just like my friends and my family and really just being able to like spend time with them like other than running definitely helps me with like my identity and like try not to consume myself like only with running.
Yeah. What are some things you like to do outside of work? What are you doing for work? What is your work for the summer?
I have to sell sweet corn.
I love that. My husband did that.
Oh, that's so fun. Yay.
Are you detasseling it also?
No, I usually have to pick it in the morning, but lately, this year I've only done it once so far, so I'm gonna hope my boss doesn't make me do it this year.
That's a hard job. People don't get it. Talk about hot.
I know, yeah. My sister, he makes her, pick it, but she has to be there at usually 6, but lately it's been 5:30 in the morning.
Oh my goodness. That is, Carson, do you have any idea what we're talking about?
No, this is so foreign to me.
My husband grew up on a farm, so his family were farmers, and his dad was a vet, but also farmer. So, Sonny, fill us in. Tell people what it's like and what you're doing.
Yeah, so I have to sell basically like until we sell out of corn. So yeah, it's really hot some days. I think this week it's gonna be really hot. Last week it was kind of nice. Sometimes there was like little breezes and whatnot, but yeah, I usually try to keep myself busy, like read a book or whatnot. I always try to play like music to keep myself preoccupied, but it's pretty nice. I work by this one restaurant, and today they gave me like free Dole Whip and stuff, which was nice.
Amazing. And by the way, is there anything that tastes better than just picked sweet corn?
Nothing. It tastes so good. I eat it raw. Some people. I told one of my customers.
Gosh, I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, I know. I told one of my customers yesterday, and she like looked at me like she was disgusted. I'm like, it's good.
Totally. You know what I do is I cut it off the cob, so raw, and then I
Yeah,
mix it in with sliced, um, the round, not the big tomatoes, not the beefsteak, but the small little tomatoes, and then
yeah.
avocado and salt and pepper. It is so good.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's super nourishing, and it really helps like from a hydration perspective too, because I'm always looking for different ways to get water in. Yeah, so that is absolutely amazing. I absolutely love that. What are you most looking forward to as you head to Duke, and what are you most nervous about?
Yeah, I think I'm just most excited to like be around the team and especially like new people as well because I come from like a small town. So I'm just really excited to get to like explore and like meet tons of new people. And I think the thing I'm most nervous about is of course just like leaving home and like getting like adjusted to mostly school because I'm super excited for the training. I know that I'll have teammates with me and that are just starting as well. So I think I'm most nervous about like the school aspect.
Yeah, Carson, you have any tips?
I think just utilizing your resources, especially as a student athlete, like there's going to be so much at your disposal that, you may have to do a little work like finding it, but there's so much to be had at a university in terms of like that academic support, you talking to your teammates, like they might have taken the class that you're taking and you're stressed about and they know a tutor or whatever, so like, I think just doing that from the jump is so important. I have a lot of clients that, we work through academic success stuff and it's usually comes after they've kind of dug themselves into a hole and they didn't know that there was a campus, counselor to help or there was a tutoring center or whatever, right? So like getting in and asking those questions, especially your coaches and teammates are going to be the ones that are excited to tell you about it and help you, figuring out like where to go and who can help just from the gun. I think that's a really good one.
Yeah, thank you so
Perfect.
much.
Yeah, that's actually really good advice. All right, Sonny, what would you tell a younger girl in Sandwich who's just getting started out and dreaming big? What advice would you give them as they're just starting their journey?
Yeah, I would say definitely like have patience with the results that you're seeing because you're not meant to like peak now. You're supposed to be able to perform the best like uh whether it's like later in the season or like later in your high school career, but just don't get like too caught up into the results and really just try your best to have fun with it while also, of course, like trying your best. But I would say mostly try to have fun with it, because I feel like once you uh, lean into that aspect, it makes it so much more enjoyable. And you definitely see more success when you're not constantly like stressed all the time. And yeah.
Wow, that is, Carson, is that a really good way to end the podcast?
I mean, that is probably the best piece of advice you could give. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. That was absolutely incredible. Sunny, thank you so much for being here. Carson, thanks for being my co-host on the pod. Thank all of you for taking the time to listen. We're here because of you. We want to make sure that we are bringing you guests that are going to add so much value, and the feedback that we're getting is just that. So please make sure that you are sharing with a female athlete or coach you love. It helps more than you can imagine. And literally, it takes about 5 seconds to give us a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. Until next time.